It needed.
Please turn your amplifier on so I can hear you denigrate me. You've got a very weak signal. This is KCD, assuming the channel. Taking over the frequency, as it were. I have a secret weapon. It's called a telephone.
Live stream. Hey. Ah. Sig. Who? What? Where?
Am I there?
You're connected, audio, but I don't see anything.
I don't see video. Well, I had OBS running first, and I wonder if I need to get out and come back. I will be back.
Oh, she has an update. I thought for sure I had, because both my OBS is updated. Well, all of them updated to 26.0.0, and I'm like, oh great, here we go. I can't get my virtual camera to start. Well, I still have to add the module. It's like I forgot, but it worked. Good thing I started early.
How could you forget?
Well, things happen, dude.
Well, no, I understand that. and welcome to the Jungle Chaser Show, where we hope to entertain you, but most of all, inform you on the weather. We are a bunch of ham radio operators as well as law enforcement in here. So we do talk about a variety of topics, but our main focus is the weather. And we hope to educate you as we go along. So, welcome to the show. My name is Patty. My call sign in amateur radio is KD0AEL. And I have an assortment of gentlemen with me this evening, and I will just let them introduce themselves.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. My name is Franklin, call sign KD0RSJ. I am the Greene County coordinator for Greene County Skywarn, and I also assist with the Southwest Missouri Regional Skywarn. And I'll go ahead and pass it on over to Rodney.
Yes, I am. My call sign is K0FZ. I am a secondary for Greene County and the regional. So, I mean, I basically fill in whenever needed as far as net control. I am a weather enthusiast, and sometimes I ask myself why they want me in part of this party, but I'm here. And so, anything I can do to help, basically help people learn some, things, whether it be about ham radio or basic weather, which I think Patty and Franklin have a pretty good handle on as well. But anyway, I'm glad they have me here, and I'm glad I made it.
And my name's Kieran. I'll be your resident law enforcement officer for today, all the way over here from the UK. I'm know a little bit more about the weather over here in the UK and stuff like that. I'm not imposed in the sort of radio side of things, as you probably know from previous streams.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in it all, and I'll hand it over.
Now, see, what you need to do is get, I think, what they call over in the UK your foundation license.
Yeah, we probably have something similar, because for the training for the radios in the police cars.
Yeah,
I think
think
it's the same.
I think amateur radio in the UK, if I am not mistaken, I think it's just like a two class license system. I think you start off with your foundation license, which is kind of like our tech license, and then you have another one after that, I think.
I'd have to dig out my qualifications that I took when I joined the force, because I don't know what one. I know we had to take a special course for the radios that's in the police cars, so I don't know if I actually have that or not. I might already have it, but it's just one of many things that we did, so it kind of just got put to one side after it got done.
I can understand that.
I know it's quite different over there than it is here. Here, that is more of a commercial license, so it does fall into a different category, different licensure through the Federal Communications Commission here. So, but with the training you've taken, you're probably ready to take any test to get into amateur radio. So,
Quite possibly, yeah.
Well,
Especially with how complicated some of the radio systems we have in some of the older cars. Even I struggle with them.
I'm Steve. I'm the guy that pushes the buttons tonight to make it work. So, call sign KA0SPM.
So one of the things we like to do for our producer is to give you a little bit of local weather, current conditions, expectations, and then a little bit abroad, and then move on to a specific topic. Well, for those of you who, like myself, are fall enthusiasts, This is sweater weather, folks, and I am rejoicing in it. Right now, it is 52 degrees outside or 11 centigrade, and I've got the windows open and a fan bringing it in. It's absolutely gorgeous. We do expect a low tonight, though, and low-lying areas may actually expect a little frost. Our low tonight of 38. High tomorrow of only 65, and I'm seeing 60s all the way through to Monday. We do have a little warming trend coming in potentially next week, but we're looking at lows in the 40s predominantly, which is absolutely wonderful. A slight chance of rain showers Saturday night, but don't get your hopes up for those of us who still remain in the drought. The severe drought area has been expanded, and that's sad. We do need rain. This is rainy season, and we're just not getting it. So
I'm assuming the kind of downpours that we had last Sunday didn't help very much with that.
We had an inch and a half here, which actually took our little tiny corner of the county out of the severe drought into a moderate. But from the way I had to water today, the ground is still very dry, very deep, because it took a long time to soak in.
Yeah, and I know sometimes people kind of see that as kind of counterintuitive. They think, oh, well, we got all this heavy rain, so that should have helped out. That's what I was going to say. A lot of that doesn't actually soak in. It just it pours down so much, and it just runs off to wherever the lowest point is that it can go to, and it doesn't soak in.
But on the other hand, our lakes need it too.
Yeah.
Taneycomo has really been suffering. They've got boats that are actually dry docked that are not supposed to be. If you're familiar with Duck Harbor, I've seen photos where the dock and the boats are sitting on land, and it's shallow enough they cannot even get in and tow them out. So, yeah. The lakes are in severe need. Now, we haven't had a word that we're like forced to not water or whatever.
Stuff like that.
Any kind of restrictions. But if we don't start getting rain for the fall season, we could get there. Yeah. And that is a concern.
You're not too far out from it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could, I would send you some of the stuff that's here, but you know.
We could use it. We could certainly use it.
I think my backyard has turned into a swimming pool.
The big excitement, I suppose, right now is actually the UK for weather. So let me get their page up here so you can have a look. This is the Met Office, and they do have a yellow rain and wind warning. Looks like south of London. And flooding and spray and flooding on roads will make dangerous driving conditions. It's likely that some coastal routes, seafronts, and coastal communities will be affected by spray or large waves. Wind warnings, it looks like, goes along with that, and beware with high-sided vehicles, and it's possible that there may be a few power outages. Now, the new thing here that we can have a look at, which I haven't really brought this page up. This is a site called windy.com. It shows all the available weather radars, and you can see that there's a pretty large system located in the north of France, right into the English Channel, that's causing this this storm. Now, we've had several tropical systems move through the states, and they tend to go up and over across the Atlantic into England, and Europe, and that appears to be the case that one of them has made it all the way into France and England. So the UK, because it looks like Ireland is getting a little bit as well. So it's you could have a little excitement there, Kieran.
Yeah, we're already getting it. I mean, the road that's just the other side of mine is literally underwater at the moment. It was over the halfway up the side of my car, and mine's a big SUV.
Of course, you got enough horsepower in that SUV, though. Can't you just like skate right over the top of it? Like
I
them.
probably could, but the stopping at the other end of it before I hit the tree might be a little bit difficult.
A little bit.
So, gentlemen, I don't know if there's any interest on anyone else's part but mine, but in about a minute and a half, maybe a little less, there's about to be a NASA launch, Northrop Grumman cargo launch to the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the live feed to the launch up. If there's interest, I could pull this in and share.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you want the sound?
We won't
Yeah,
get
I
a
think that'd be
copyright
cool.
strike,
Minute.
will we?
I've never actually managed to catch one live because I've normally been asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Would we
It's
get
not
a,
the United
copyright
Launch
strike for
Alliance,
that?
is it? Because it'll fail.
It's an Antares.
Okay.
Antares.
Because they were supposed to
Yeah.
launch last night, and they failed again. Scrubbed it.
And I can't remember, is that a newer rocket, or is that an old one?
Antares is not new,
Okay.
but in relative terms, it's probably in the last 5 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I think the one that they used to use a lot for non-shuttle stuff was like was it like a Delta 5 or Delta 6 rocket?
We've already performed step Alpha 19. We've performed step Alpha 20, Alpha 21. Site control LC, step Alpha 22. You go to disarm TEL rapid retract system. LC site control TEL rapid retract.
No rocket launch tonight.
Ooh.
Copy that, site control.
LC Core 1 on a countdown 1.
Yeah, Core 1 looking for status on the restart of the MS session.
MS session is restarted.
Copy that, Core 1. Check Alpha 4. And TLM, you go for Alpha 5. Enable Usenoia data stream. Turn on Usenoia embedded stream output to the MS data recording workstation. Data stream enabled. Copy all there. We'll check Alpha 5 complete.
So they scrubbed it?
Resuming with board safing 6.
They have scrubbed
TLM,
it.
step Alpha 23. You go
I
to
didn't
stop
catch
and,
it. Was it a technical issue, weather issue?
Computer scrubbed it.
restarted.
Ah.
Copy
Okay.
that, TLM. Check Alpha 23 complete. Ops 1. Step Alpha 24. Transfer FTSA and FTSB to external power.
I guess they're going to try tomorrow.
Ops 1,
Yeah.
FTSA and B external power on, FTSA and B internal power.
So, never mind.
Okay.
I guess I still never caught one live.
It was
By the
worth a
time they do
shot.
that tomorrow. Yes.
It was good 15 minutes ago. I thought we'd give it a try. So,
I wonder if there was like a red flag on the sensor or something.
something.
Well, that's like recently, and I didn't read the article. I wish I would have went ahead, but it was kind of one of those things. I happened to see a notification, or I was passing through to go on to something else. But apparently, they said we came very close to having had a third major shuttle disaster, and I think it was one of the very early missions. I think Atlantis. I think it was the shuttle that I guess apparently almost didn't make it back, or there was something during the mission that had went slightly differently, would have been like a catastrophic failure that could have resulted in the loss of the shuttle.
Oh my. Did you all watch the video I sent where they were saying that the astronauts could have been saved by Atlantis from the Columbia?
From Columbia? No, I don't guess I had watched that. See, I guess it would have just depended on, because I think they knew at takeoff that there had been damage, but I don't think they thought the damage was that severe
And
that
that's
it would
what
have compromised the heat
problem
shield that much.
There was a team that requested the photos so that they could see the damage, and they were refused. And they're saying that had they known a week ahead, they could have launched Atlantis, had the astronauts on Columbia spacewalk to Atlantis, and it would have saved them. There's no way they could have saved the ship.
Well,
but they could have gotten them out of there.
the truth is that they probably could have saved the ship on a subsequent launch. So they could have left it in orbit, came back to it with repairs that they could do in space, and actually brought it back safely.
I think that the caveat there would be how soon they could have sent a repair team up there, because they're in a low enough Earth orbit that that's what I don't think a lot of people realize. They're not really super high up. They're at a place where every so often they basically need to use kind of like their booster rockets to kind of keep them up in orbit. They're low enough that after so much time, they will actually fall back into Earth's atmosphere, and eventually, if it's not properly done, like during a return, either burn up or skip off the atmosphere. So depending on how long it would have taken to have gotten a repair team back up there, they probably likely could have done repair, unless there's something specific about those heat tiles or how they're applied that just could not be done in orbit.
I don't know about that.
They
this
use...
was a hit to the wing, and it was a different type of tile than the ones that usually get damaged on takeoff. And so I don't know.
They probably could have, if they'd have known, came up with the repair before Atlantis launched to get them, and they could have fixed it.
True.
And
possibly.
But you know, that problem seems to have happened in NASA a couple of times over the years. They kind of call it go fever. And, you know, they're looking at a problem that could be catastrophic, but we're going to go anyway.
I think part of it is, and I definitely, I can't necessarily fault anyone in NASA. And I mean, this even goes to the astronauts as well. I think they are just so enthusiastic about doing these missions, getting this stuff done. And a lot of them, I mean, even during the congressional testimony after the Apollo 1 fire that resulted in the death of 3 crewmen on the launch pad, everyone, even the astronauts themselves, are like, we know what we're signing up for. We know what the potential end results could be. And every single one of us wake up every day willing to pay that ultimate price to do it.
Yeah. You know, I get that, but sometimes there's kind of a go fever, boy. You know, we got to go, we got to do it, and you know, not always the best choices. I am seeing a message on chat.
Yes, apparently there's a lawnmower derby at 7 p.m. Saturday near Mountain Grove.
Hooter Holler Off-Road Park in Mountain Grove. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My comment on that was, when I first saw it, that seems a little dangerous.
A lawnmower riding.
Yeah, and Kieran probably has seen them in the UK, call them banger derbies. But they put sides on them. It's like all they do is drive around and knock the wheels off.
I had a friend who used to work at Bass Pro. Either him or he had a relative, I can't remember which, used to do lawnmowers almost like a tractor pull.
Oh, yeah.
And they would have, organized sessions in groups of people. They'd bring in their souped up lawnmowers, and I don't know if it was more like a regular, like a drag race, or if they kind of like pulled, kind of like, I'm sure smaller, but some kind of a weighted sled, kind of like a regular tractor pull. I never went to one, so I don't know exactly how it was formatted, but I know it was a thing.
So we have a program tonight.
Yes.
Ooh.
I left out the part about, pumpkin spice, because we have plenty of that.
Everywhere.
But we do have a program tonight about frost.
No,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
about
going
the
to do that next
equinox.
Not this.
Franklin's going to do frost next week.
Oh, you're gonna. I labeled our live stream wrong then.
Well, no.
Equinox.
You can't get the staff these days, can you?
Not necessarily. We're kind of getting down temperature-wise, where we could potentially one morning wake up and have a little sheen of frost on the Halloween jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, and Patty got one tonight to make a jack-o'-lantern out of. So I noticed the cat was pretty enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do a little carving on that. It was talking to me when I walked in the store. It looked like it needed a face on this one side. So,
I wouldn't mind trying this year.
I like pumpkin fresh from the pumpkin to make a pie as well. I'm not a real huge fan of what's in the can. I use it when there's nothing else.
Yep.
I'm
You
sure
just
the
like those
fresh is a lot
ingredients.
better.
Yeah. So are we ready to go?
Oh, well, I think we are.
So
All right.
I did notice that even though we could share earlier, it did not share this last go round. So if you could share your page as a test, we want to make sure that it's going to work.
It's Sharon. I can open OBS and do it that way if I have to.
I can see it on the stream.
Yeah, I see it on my end.
Yeah.
Is it sharing to YouTube?
I have not seen it show up on the live stream.
No, it
yet.
is not sharing on this end. So
No, it's not showing on YouTube.
Okay.
Gotta love this YouTube, OBS, and Skype stuff.
I
Did
had
you-
it all set up. Let's see what I can do here.
But see, Patty, that
you know
was
what the
before
problem
the
was? It was
update.
that update.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it was
messed it
that
all up.
it was that update messing it up. So, if I can get OBS and Skype to talk,
Patty, if you need me to, I can pull your screen feed. over
can
on mine.
you? Would you do that, because this is? It'd probably be easier for you to do that if you're already seeing it, than for me to get out and come back in.
Well, give me just a few seconds.
All right, no problem.
I can.
1, 2.
All right, Kieran.
You said a couple of seconds. I gave you a couple of seconds. So I don't
Yeah,
know
but in
what
the
more you
States,
want from
couple
me.
of seconds can mean multiple minutes.
Don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I gave you what you asked for. You gotta be more Pacific.
Could be worse. We could have another week like we had last week, where we were we were all going down.
True.
Well, I got that part at least solved, and the other part is actually have to spend some money. But I think
And it could be worse. It could be raining.
it could be.
And the other part of that is I just need to get more sleep.
Yes, you do. I don't see how you do it.
That night was really bad because I had only got 2 hours the night before, and then we were doing the test, so I only got an hour that night, and then I was up really early, and then was up really late, and then the little ones cuddled up to me, and yeah, that was me out.
You have a delightful snore.
Yes. Not like the I've referenced it 3 or 4 times now. We're probably gonna have to play the video if we possibly can one time. Not like the sound of the monster of 80 meters.
This is true. This is true. So,
there it is.
There it is. Thank you, Rodney. On Tuesday, September 22nd at 8:31 a.m. Central Daylight Time, fall began. And so some people call it autumn, some people call it fall. And I thought I would talk a little bit tonight. What makes it fall? What makes the season change? Why did they identify it this way? And what is an equinox? What is an equilux? They are 2 different terms, and they are not necessarily synonymous. In 2020, it did happen Tuesday, September 22nd, the official beginning of fall in the northern hemisphere and the beginning of spring in the southern hemisphere. So the word equinox comes from a Latin term meaning equal and night.
Really?
So on the equinox, theoretically, day and night are roughly equal in length. During the equinox, the sun crosses what we call the celestial equator. This is an imaginary extension of Earth's equator line into space. So one of the reasons we lose daylight is the Earth is actually tilting us away from the sun and tilting the southern hemisphere more toward the sun. So the equinox occurs precisely when the sun's center passes through this line. And this marks the autumnal equinox. And when it moves back so that we come where we're facing more toward the sun, that's the vernal equinox in the spring. So we're losing daylight. Sun begins to rise later, nightfall comes sooner. And this actually ends with the December solstice when the days start to grow longer, which sounds kind of funny that our days would get longer in the winter, but that's another topic. Another definition of fall is nights of below freezing temperatures combined with days of temperatures below 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. From here on out, the temperatures will drop. Of course, there's always exceptions. We're in the Ozarks, right? So we have what we call Indian summer that often will occur, where we've had freezing temperatures and we've been in our coats and suddenly we have this Indian summer for a week. But typically our temperatures range in that way. Why do the leaves change? It is not due to current weather conditions. This is a common misconception. They change because of the amount of daylight and photosynthesis. So they're going to change regardless of when we get that big freeze, right? Are day and night perfectly equal on the equinox? No. Some say that during the equinox, day and night is equal. Not exactly. It depends on where you live. On the equinox, the center of the sun is indeed above the horizon for 12 hours. Sunrise, though, is said to begin when the upper edge of the sun's disk becomes visible above the horizon, and that happens a bit before the center rises and ends when the entire sun has set. In this case, daylight is still a little bit longer than nighttime. So then if that's true, is the equinox really the first day of fall? Well, I'm going to throw another one in there. Yes, the autumnal equinox does mark the first day of fall in the northern hemisphere. But in meteorological terms, the definition of seasons is based on temperature cycles and the Gregorian calendar. So that actually, the meteorological first day of fall was September 1st. Here's a myth. Let's see where we go with this myth. Can you balance an egg on the equinox? I've heard this most of my life. Yes. But you can do this anytime. It's not just on the equinox.
This actually made it as a subplot on an episode of The West Wing.
Okay.
So I didn't see it this year, but usually there's a whole bunch of videos of people out there balancing their eggs. You can do this anytime. It's not just on the equinox. Signs of fall: migrating birds and butterflies. The snow geese, I had to cheat. That's my own photo. That was actually a spring shot of them migrating. I did make a trip yesterday to the butterfly house to get the last few shots of butterflies there before they migrate. And if you notice, if you're a bird watcher at all, there has been an absence of some of the usual birds to the feeder. So this is happening. The monarchs have already migrated. There were none out at the park yesterday. That happened probably 2 weeks ago that they migrated. So we were a little late for that. What are some of the other signs of fall? Well, corn mazes. The corn's ripe and people will open up the corn mazes, pumpkin patches and fall festivals, football season. This little guy up here in the upper right-hand corner, we call him Chippy. Look at those cheeks.
Those are pudgy.
He's grabbing every sunflower seed he can find in our yard, and he takes them back to his nest and storing them up.
He's not the only critter doing that, though.
Right, the squirrels are doing it too. So you'll see animals doing this. They store up for the cold weather. Yeah. You'll see certain plants that come into bloom as the weather gets cooler. Black-eyed Susans, brown-eyed Susans, zinnias, some of the other plants that you will see that come into big bloom in the fall. Of course, the leaves will start changing, and it's sweater weather. Another thing that we look forward to this time of year, for some of us, it gives us an extra hour of sleep. One day, anyway.
I always like to fall back, not so much on springing forward.
I do not like to spring forward.
I like to call it an extra hour of people doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah. The night shift where I work, they kind of curse this time of year because it's a 13-hour shift.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they have to fight to get it on their paycheck because the time system doesn't pick it up. So, and I think that's pretty common. They don't for some reason have that ability to make those time clocks add that extra hour.
That is weird. You would think that it would just be either a simple matter of putting in something where you could just, easily manually add it, or, something where, on this specific day, add an extra hour and so on.
Right. Although they have to go in and manually do it. So, it's dicey. So what is an equilux? This is a term I had never really paid attention to. I'm sure I've heard it, but I had never equated it to this time of year, and I happened to have a friend throw that up the other day, and I did a little research. Well, I was talking about that 8 minutes difference possible on the equinox. Equilux is actually the day when, come on, computer. There we go. When day and night are equal. And this can happen a few to several days after the equinox and a few to several days before the spring equinox. I believe this happened on the 23rd. Much as earliest sunrises and latest sunsets vary with latitude, so the exact date of an equilux varies with latitude. That's in contrast to the equinox itself, which is a whole Earth event happening at the same instant worldwide. At and near the equator, there is no equilux because the daylight period is over 12 hours long every day of the year. That I did not know.
I did not know that either, but that tends to make sense, particularly if you take into account the situation with both polar regions having pretty much almost half the year is mostly daylight, or the other half mostly dark or like a twilight at best.
Right, right. So there are two reasons we have more than 12 hours of daylight on the day of the equinox. The sun is a disk, not a point of light. The Earth's atmosphere refracts or bends the sunlight. These factors add up to provide an additional 8 or so minutes of daylight on the day of the equinox at mid-temperature latitudes, such as where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give some credits here for the show. I borrowed from the almanac.com for some of the information on the equinox, and from Earth Sky for the equilux. Albeit, I think one of the photos involved in there were my own, and so I'll take a little credit where credit's due.
Deservedly.
Deservedly.
Always a good idea.
So that's my little take for tonight.
Gotcha. I had never heard the term equilux until you had mentioned it the other day, and I'd forgotten that was what tonight's topic was going to be, but I was kind of wondering if that wasn't what it was, because I know I had heard that, on the equinox, things aren't necessarily evenly split, so just kind of going equa and lux, I was thinking, well, maybe that's the day that it actually is split even.
Right.
Cool.
I was struggling there for a
I've
bit
never
to try
heard
to get
either
that
of those
picture
terms.
there.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've heard equinox and solstice.
So one
for
of the
years
things
going all the way back to
Right.
school.
Right, I have too.
Okay.
So one thing I did not bring up, and it wasn't on the pages that I went to, this is also a migration time of year for snakes. So those of you who spend time outdoors, there are some areas where the snakes will typically go to hibernate. Stockton Lake has got a cove, and I don't know where the snakes go from that cove, but I have seen them migrating in the water. and had to talk to a conservation agent about it because it was the freakiest thing I'd ever seen out on a boat. The cove was full of snakes from bank to bank.
I think you just talked me out of ever going to Stockton Lake, Patty.
I don't think it exists. I've never found that place on Stockton.
You have to be there on the day it happened. And it was like this mass influx of snakes. I've never seen it again. Of course, I haven't camped there like I used to. And so it just happened to be we were camped at that cove. I will say this, I slept in the car with the windows pretty much rolled up that night.
Don't blame me.
So,
I wonder why.
That would definitely be a Jack Daniels inducing moment.
Oh, perhaps. But there have been people that have been reporting sightings of copperheads, and this is what they call baby copperhead season in the Ozarks. They do hatch about this time of year. You won't see them long while the temperatures get cold. As reptiles, they will seek to go to underground or caverns that we have around here to seek warmth to get them through the winter. But they will pop out on warm days, so that's something to bear in mind as well.
Yeah, and one thing that can potentially cause this to be a dangerous situation is this is kind of the time of the year that, we start having trees turn those pretty reds and oranges and yellows and sometimes brown, and the leaves start falling on the ground. And as anyone who's lived around the Ozark knows, particularly the Osage copperhead, they're various shades of brown, kind of a rusty, reddy brown, and they mix in very well with these fallen leaves. So you might think something's a leaf, and it's actually a copperhead. And I think it's more so specific to the Osage copperhead, which is a variety that we have a lot of around here, and I think in most of Missouri. Growing up, I thought that was the only type of copperhead. There actually are a few other kinds of copperheads that the head looks a little bit different, and they have a little bit different coloring pattern. They kind of all, to some extent, the best I can recall, kind of blend in with the color of the leaves. But those Osage copperheads, they really, really blend in with them.
It's at times like that where I love the fact that I live in the UK.
So I'm sharing a picture here with the chat, and if someone could put this up, who is able to share, for those who might be watching that don't know what we're referring to, this is a copperhead. It is a pit viper. I used to teach outdoor education, so I love this. We're talking about snakes. I do not love snakes. I won't handle them. But I do know that if it's a non-poisonous snake, I will probably identify it and just give it a wide berth. If it's a poisonous snake, I might tend to scream and do all kinds of other things. But
and then run in the opposite direction.
Now, see, I don't.
How close I am.
I don't do that. I don't like being around them. I think they're fascinating. They're interesting. Now, whenever I was a little kid, say like up to about 8, maybe 10, I would like freak out if I even like turned a page in a book or a magazine, and all of a sudden, oh, there's a snake. Okay. Dad couldn't even see him on the TV screen. Like the
I work with a